I'm asking you is a position you're taking that the Corbyn left will find unpalatable.
Well, I'm not particularly interested in. I've got people from different parts of the party on my campaign working together, because I know that simply saying unity isn't enough. Everybody's going to say that.
That's not unpalatable.
Keir Starmer's leadership is in tatters after Andrew Neil's brutal takedown. The interview exposed a staggering 68% of voters who believe Starmer has failed to keep his promises. But it's not just about numbers. Neil's piercing questions revealed a deeper truth about Labour's direction under Starmer.
Well, as they decide whether to vote for you or not, they want to know where your money's coming from. Is not the key legislation, because you're hiding behind the process.
No, the Labour Party
Why don't you do what the other candidates do and don't Labour members have a right?
I've been asked that many times. I've said it's coming from trade unions, from crowdfunding, from individual donations.
Who's your biggest donor?
It's coming from those three. One of my biggest donors was put up on the website, I think, yesterday.
Right, that's one of the lawyer.
Yes.
From anti-Semitism to economic policies, no stone was left unturned. The result? A political bloodbath that sent shockwaves through Westminster. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Andrew Neil was extremely thorough in his preparation for this crucial interview. Neil, who is renowned for his incisive questioning and capacity to make even the most seasoned politicians wince, treated this meeting with Keir Starmer like a game of chess. He was aware that facing the Labour leader could change the course of British politics and wasn't just another interview.
The Labour Party rules say carry out the checks, which we have to carry out, and I've got a compliance team doing that. Once you're satisfied the checks are carried out and the donations are proper in order.
Labour Party members who are being asked to vote for you should know who's bankrolling your campaign.
That is why the Labour Party set up those rules.
But you won't tell us.
They go to the parliamentary authorities who put them on the parliamentary website so that everybody can see them. I've been following that procedure. That is exactly the parliamentary rules.
But the other candidates in this contest have published who is bankrolling their.
Neil thoroughly studied Labour's manifesto in the weeks before the interview. With a highlighter in hand, he went through each page, looking for contradictions and unfulfilled promises. From his position on Brexit to his handling of internal party conflicts, his research team produced dossiers on Starmer's policy reversals. Neil was developing an arsenal in addition to formulating questions. Neil's interviewing style has long been a topic of discussion among media specialists and political analysts. Some commend him for his persistence and unrelenting search for the truth. Neil's ability to cut through political spin is unparalleled, said media analyst Jane Thompson. He doesn't let politicians off the hook with vague answers or deflections. Others, however, wonder if his methods occasionally veer too close to the edge into violence. There's a fine line between holding politicians accountable and turning an interview into a public execution, argues political blogger and Labour supporter Tom Harris. Neil frequently teeters on that brink. Tension started to rise as the interview day drew near. There were rumours that Starmer was getting ready. Was he prepared for Neil's attack? Concerns were raised by a few Labour insiders regarding their leader's capacity to endure such close scrutiny. Ultimately, Starmer's recent performances in the House of Commons had been subpar, frequently appearing agitated and unprepared for Prime Minister's questions. Neil wasted no time in getting the cameras rolling. His first query struck Starmer like a lightning strike. "You said you would bring the Labour Party together, Mr. Starmer. However, we have witnessed more ideological purges and internal strife than ever before under your direction. What do you tell your supporters about this failure?" The brief hesitancy of the Labour leader said a lot. From the beginning, it was obvious that this would not be a casual conversation or a softball interview. Neil's approach became clear as the interview went on. He was methodically destroying Starmer's political image, in addition to posing challenging queries. Every question was aimed at Labour's weak spots. Like a precisely guided missile, Neil looked everywhere, from broken pledges on party unity to policy reversals on important topics like nationalisation and public spending. This interview had immediate and significant political repercussions. Videos of Starmer's gaffes and Neil's pointed questions went viral on social media. Political analysts started making predictions about how it would affect Labour's chances of winning elections in the long run. Would this be the turning point in Starmer's leadership, or would he be able to bounce back from being grilled in public like this? A deeper question surfaced as the fallout from Neil's opening salvo subsided. What had Starmer promised, and how spectacularly had he fallen short of it? It was about to become painfully clear how different Starmer's rhetoric was from the harsh reality of his leadership. Neil started to carefully tear down Starmer's political facade with his usual accuracy. He reminded viewers of the ambitious vision that Starmer had presented when he took over as leader of Labour, a unified party, a distinct alternative to the Conservatives, and a ray of hope for a country struggling with social inequality and economic uncertainty. At first, the public had been enthralled with this vision because it provided a welcome change from the apparent chaos of the previous Labour leadership. However, as Neil looked more closely, Starmer's leadership flaws became apparent. "Mr. Starmer," Neil said, his tone slightly sceptical, "you pledged to bring the party together and offer strong opposition. However, according to recent surveys, only 32% of respondents think you've lived up to your campaign pledges. How can this glaring disparity be explained?" Clearly uneasy, Starmer tried to defend his record, but in contrast to Neil's flurry of facts, his explanations sounded hollow. The Labour leader was in a difficult position, unable to balance his early pledges with the party's current situation and polling position. Neil persisted, drawing attention to the ongoing internal conflicts within Labour as well as the party's confused position on important issues. He offered damning evidence of waning public trust, along with quotes from disillusioned Labour members. Every piece of evidence further undermined Starmer's credibility. Neil's emphasis on Starmer's policies and how they affected vulnerable groups was possibly the most harmful. "Your policies," said Neil bluntly, "have been criticised for disproportionately harming the elderly. Under your leadership, a large number of pensioners are having difficulty keeping up with the rising cost of living and the increased taxes. How do you defend these laws that appear to harm the people who need protection the most?" At best, Starmer's response was mild and did not address the main points of the criticism. It was an instance that perfectly captured the larger dissatisfaction with his leadership, the inability to offer convincing, unambiguous alternatives to the policies of the current administration. Starmer was forced into a corner as the interview came to a head. In a startling admission that rocked British politics, he acknowledged losing control in crucial areas. It was an admission that appeared to validate the worst suspicions of both his detractors and his admirers. The fallout from Neil's interview with Starmer may have a significant impact on Labour's chances of winning the election. Such well-publicised conflicts have historically been crucial turning points in political careers. After difficult interviews, Starmer now finds himself in a precarious position, much like Jeremy Corbyn did. The public's response to Neil's incessant interrogation could further damage Starmer's already precarious reputation. When everything is said and done, the actual significance of this interview is revealed. It serves as a sobering reminder of journalism's responsibility to hold those in positions of authority accountable and goes beyond the missteps of a single politician. Both politicians and voters should take note of Neil's surgical analysis of Starmer's record. Now the question is whether Starmer can bounce back from this setback or if his leadership career is coming to an end. The United Kingdom is in dire need of strong, moral leadership during these turbulent times. Neil's interview revealed a weakness within Labour. The public is left wondering as they process the fallout, who, if anyone, can take the initiative to provide the integrity and vision that the nation sorely needs.